Hey, hold on, let me turn on the correct microphone. Hey, welcome everybody to episode 238. It's a continuation of episode 237, and hopefully you're watching us live, but if not, I hope you've come on over from the recording of episode 237. I'm your hostess, Debbie Levitt. I'm from a company called Delta CX, and we're a full-service CX and UX consulting firm doing projects, training, consulting, and a lot more. If there's anything we can do for you, please check us out at deltacx.com. And as always, I want to thank our Patreons for help and support all of these free webinars and workshops that we've been doing. So if you would like to join the paid version, patreon.com/CXCC. You are also welcome to join the free version. So come check it out and see which version's right for you. The paid version starts at $1 a month, which is a lot for some people and not a lot for others. I can't say. So the free version works too. And of course, check out upcoming events at cxcc.to/events. So today, without further ado, we are picking up from where we left off on episode, hey everyone, episode 237, where we did a discovery phase knowledge quadrant. And we did some sample fake ones together. And we're going to carry over that information today because I'm going to show you how, given that sample fake information, I go from the collaborative exercise of doing the knowledge quadrant into planning the research that will answer the questions. And to save time, we talked last time about how some of the questions that we found in our quadrant are best answered with some internal investigation. Hey, Carolina. And I'm not going to be talking today about the internal investigation. If you find out that you need something from data, analytics, marketing, sales, strategy, lawyers, product managers, engineers, somebody else, go talk to them. I'm not going to show you some sort of special plan for that. Get those questions together, go find it out. But we're going to take the things from the knowledge quadrant that are clearly best as conversations with current users or customers or potential and target users and customers, and we're going to plan that out. Hey, Ana Lucia. We're going to show how I would start to plan the research. Now, I usually take hours, if not days, to plan the research, and so I don't want you to think that whatever I do here today is it. You know, that we would just do this in an hour and zoom, we're done. Nope, this is usually something I agonize over with a coworker, and we agonize for, hey, Teddy's back. Thank you, Teddy. We agonize over it for some days. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a couple of links up on the screen, and then we're all going to meet somewhere else. Oh, yeah, and don't forget, I've got my space workshop coming up. You can see that in events in September. That one is paid and not live here on YouTube. The rest of them are live on YouTube and free. Check out Space. It's strategizing products and customer experiences. That'll be in September. Okay, so you want to go to, let me just type some things because I forgot to do this ahead of time. And 5. Okay, here we go. Let's put these up on the screen. So the two links you're going to want for today are cxcc.to, which is my URL shortener, /3 month of June, JUN lowercase 24. It's 2024. That's our Miro board, and there was a password on that. Was it customer? I usually do customer. Someone remind me. Hi, Angie. And then for today, we're going to be in a Google Doc. I've everyone set to commenting access. So feel free to leave comments as we go. You can leave them in the Google Doc. You can leave them in the YouTube or LinkedIn chat. I will see them all. It was customer. Okay, super. So cxcc.to/5 JUN lowercase 24, no password. That will drop you in our Google document. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to head on over. Here's my shared screen. And then let's head on over to Google document land. All right, so I see some of you are already here. This is great. And you should have commenting but not editing access. But let's start with where we left off last time. So last time we left off with a board where we pretended we all worked together. We pretended we had a question. We want to improve our company's conversion rate, but before we make a move, what do we know about that? What do we need to know about that? What information are we missing before we try to solve a problem we don't understand well? So today we're going to take some of the aspects of those unknowns and we're going to bring them into a research plan. Now, a good question normally comes around now, which is, who should be making this plan? Who should be running the research? Those of you who know me know the answer, but just in case I'm new to you, the answer is you're researchers. If you have CX or UX researchers, they are my first choice. Maybe you have a service designer who does research, first choice. You have an ethnographer, first choice. My first choice is not going to be designers, product managers, marketers. To me, this is owned by CX and UX, and so this is kind of our realm. Everybody's a collaborator or they're informed in this, but they are not necessarily the people doing the research. I don't believe in everybody should do the research. I believe in the people who are qualified to do the research and got the research job should do the research. Okay, what if you don't have any researchers at your company? Shame, shame. But in that case, we have to find the people who are the second best at research. Sometimes that's your marketing team. It's not necessarily your project manager, your product manager. I want whoever is the most experienced and qualified when it comes to planning research, recruiting research, conducting research, analyzing it, synthesizing it, and reporting on it. And if you don't have qualified researchers, sometimes it's your marketing team, or get some budget and hire an outside agency, consultancy, freelancer. We're out here. We'd love the work. Talk to us. So that's who should do this. So let's imagine that we've got the researchers working on this. Okay, so we start with, this is my template, by the way, and this is a template that I've given out before. This is my research template. There's nothing special about it. You do not need this template. You'll see it right now. It is the name of the project. It is a background where we say, why are we doing this? Research goals and objectives, methods, deliverables, participants, profiles and recruiting plan, screener survey, and discussion guide. That's it. That's my template. So feel free to use that or your improved variation of it. So we might say, what is the background of this project? Our B2B conversion rate, thank you, Google, for fixing my bad spelling, is down. Before we take any action to try to improve this rate, we intend to first learn more about root causes and why target customers choose or don't choose us. Again, that's something we could rewrite. Maybe that's too informal and casual for your workplace. Maybe it has to be written more formally. Again, up to you. I tend to write a little bit on the casual side. My workplaces and clients are usually okay with that, but obviously you write it for the level of formality that works for where you work. And by the way, as I go, ask questions. I can see them. You can see I've got the chat room over there. So whatever you say in LinkedIn or YouTube, it should show up over there. But don't send me an email. I'm not looking. Okay, so what are our goals? At this point, I like to take the questions from the Miro board and move them over to the goals and objectives, because while they might not be the exact ways that we're going to ask the questions, so what's the goals and objectives? How do we know our research was successful? We'll know the research study was successful when we achieve these goals and answer these general questions even if it's not the exact way we ask it to the participants, for our cross-functional team and stakeholders. So let's take a look at some of the things that were on the board. And some of you with good memories might remember some of the key themes that we saw on Monday when we started this workshop. We talked about there were a lot of stickies here, and I know there are some others to the right and below, but just starting with the main ones that are on the screen now. We saw a lot of stickies asking about pricing. Do we have good pricing? Do we have competitive pricing? Does our pricing tend to fit into our target audience's budget? So again, while these aren't exactly the way we would ask the question to the participant, these are still research goals. So I might make a bulleted list here and say pricing. Can our target audience budget for our pricing? Do they understand our pricing? How does it compare to the competition? Let's see, what else did we find about pricing? There were definitely a lot of pricing questions here. Let's see what was down here. We didn't look at these too much. Oh, is our pricing structure transparent? Okay, so that has to do with, did people understand it? Price is too high. Okay. Value, that's going to be a separate thing. Okay, great. So maybe these are some of the key things we want to understand about pricing. Do they understand it? Is it in their budget? How does it compare to the competition? Are we in the range? Are we way too high? Are we so low that we look like we lack value? We've also got our value proposition. Does our target audience understand it? Is it clear? Is it unique? I think if it's not unique, we could have trouble competing because we just seem like we're the same as competitor X. So maybe we don't care about being unique, but I'm curious if people see us as standing out from the competitors given our value proposition. What else? Chime in the YouTube channel if there's anything you want to add to this. Oh, yeah, there was reputation. Remember, we had a few great questions about reputation. How are we seen by our target audiences? What is the word on the street? You know, AKA, what are people hearing or saying about us? Let's see. And again, some of that you will find in a Voice of the Customer study where you will look at tweets and social posts and blog posts and videos and survey results, and you will get a sense of what people are saying about us. But it's also something we could work into interviews, and maybe our reputation is something that is good and brought people in, or maybe our reputation's a bit iffy, and when people saw something they didn't like, the reputation was on the pile with that, and they were turned off. What else do people remember? The comments have stopped coming in. Am I still broadcasting? Hello? Hello? Is this thing on? Let's see. Has something changed at a macro level to reduce the demand for our product? Okay. So let's talk about alternatives. What do companies use before? Great. Hey, Sharon. Hey, I was just thinking about you today. I was like, whatever happened to her? Oh, great. Allison, yes, we'll definitely get to the product features and design and usability in a moment. What do companies use before selecting us or a competitor? Kind of the how do they do this now? How would they prefer to do this? Well, that could be something else. Also, alternatives. What else could fall into that? Let's also take a look at features. Do we have parity with competitors, meaning do we offer all of what they offer? Do we have more or better features than competitors? Is our well, I guess it's plural, are our interfaces, usability, accessibility, etc., as good as or better than competitors? And again, some of this is not just to compare to competitors, because competitors often suck too. But since people are comparing us to competitors, it would be interesting to make sure that we have really risen above them and jumped past them, and that we're not just copying them or lagging behind them. Andre says, how are the different people using the product? Okay, so let's call this roles. How do different roles at target companies do this now? What was their experience during a trial of our system? Let's pretend people get trials. We don't really know. We're pretending. Roadblocks and issues with usability. Yeah, so let's sneak in here and talk about CX and UX. Our user interfaces are good or better than competitors. What are some of our main usability problems or UX debt? Maybe even technical debt. We see technical debt as a separate thing because it's someone else's responsibility, but ultimately it is the user experience, whether it's our fault or somebody else's fault. So what about any tech debt or bugs or broken stuff that is getting in the way? Let's take a little bit more of a look. Now, remember, why are we doing this? Because not only will we be able to answer the questions for ourselves, for our coworkers, cross-functional teams, stakeholders, but then we help them strategize, prioritize, and decide. We influence and inform what they might do or not do. And we therefore show the immediate value of research. You had these questions, coworker. You needed to know these things to do a better job, whatever your job is. We're going to get you those answers. We're going to get you the why and the root causes, not just the how many or a survey score. Are technical or design issues getting in the way? Can audience fit? Let's see what these green ones are. What value are people looking for from a software like ours? Okay, decision criteria. Yeah, that's a great one. So, decision criteria. How do people shop for systems like ours? What are their decision criteria? Who is involved in the decision? Who has the final say? Who decides the budget? These might be some key things we need to know that could be blocking people from converting. So notice that I'm trying to keep the scope of the research to things that are going to directly affect conversion, which is new customers signing on. There are lots of other things we could study that are maybe for other people, like people who've already signed on with us don't want to renew their contract for another year. Okay, that's loyalty and retention and churn. Right now, I'm just going to focus on new and potential customers converting. So remember, we can always make a research study endlessly broad. I want to try to keep this one under control. And in fact, as I go through this plan over and over and refine it, I might decide that some things are out of scope. Hey, we have too much stuff here, and we're going to have to narrow in on only some of these topics for our first study, learn those things, and then do a second study. Where are potential customers falling off in the funnel? Very good. And some of that we will know from our own data and analytics. We will see the funnel process and we will see where people fall off. But Sharon, the question we don't know the answer to is why? So I want to see how people shop for this, and I want to get the why. Why do some people abandon the process or let's just call it reject us. It's almost like a job interview. They just don't want us. So why? We can learn a little bit about where when we see the analytics and when we talk to people, but I want to make sure we get at the why. Yeah. Andre says, are the people looking to sign up comparing us to competitors? What does this evaluation look like? Yes. So we had this here for alternatives. So, what do companies use before selecting us or a competitor? How do they do, we'll say, these tasks now? Because we are pretending that we all work together at a project management software system, like an Airtable, a Monday.com, an Asana, things like that. We're pretending that's where we work. So, how do these people do this now? Do they use a competitor? Are they just using a spreadsheet? What is it? And the decision criteria will also play into what Andre said, which is how do people evaluate us. So this is already a pretty big study. Again, we might have to narrow it down, decrease some of this stuff because it might, we don't want to necessarily interview people for 2 hours, but we could. I've done some long sessions in my career, so we might have to figure out if that is something we want to do. So we've got someone here who has highlighted how. I don't know if they're writing a comment, but I guess we'll see that if they do. So let's imagine that these are the key things we want to learn because that would satisfy most, if not all, of the questions that showed up on the Knowledge Quadrant. And again, I will keep referring to the Knowledge Quadrant to make sure that we've covered anything that we decided was in scope that we were going to talk to current or potential customers about. So we've got our roles. We've got tasks. Who are the companies? Why do they choose us? Can they pay for us? Does our website stink? So yeah, that's going to be kind of value proposition. Does the website, let's put that back in. Is it clear? Is it unique? Do they learn the value prop from the website, sales, both, or something else? Okay, so notice I'm going to refer back to the Knowledge Quadrant. I'm going to fill in with anything I feel like I've missed. I would rather start with too much and have to narrow it down later than to miss some of these things and have someone say, you ran that study and you didn't get my question? And then go, oh no. Is our service outdated? Are we missing features? Our price is high, the product's hard to use, people don't see value in the tool, they're already using spreadsheets. Layoffs could be cutting costs. Okay, so this has to do with, we talked about pricing. Have layoffs or the economy changed the available budget for a, budget for a system like this? Yeah, I've asked questions like that. Good one. That can certainly help our sales and marketing people understand how much these decisions might be tied to current economic trends or other things. Yeah, start broad, then get specific. Start broad or cut something that doesn't make sense. People don't see value, price too high, we don't have a clear value prop, workflow stinks, competitor is better. People want a free trial without talking to sales. Let's talk about that one a little bit. Let's see. Where would I put that? That's probably part of decision criteria. Did potential customers get a sales demo, free trial, or some other preview of our system? Sharon says, is there a different purchasing model that would help convert sales? Yeah, we need to learn more about the pricing and then the decision criteria. I feel like decision criteria plus pricing might be purchasing model, whether that comes through a procurement system or a manager or it's a group effort or yeah, so really we have to learn about our pricing. Do they understand it? Is it clear? Is it competitive? Does it match the value that we offer? So Yeah, I think we got that in there, but let me know if you think it's missing. Let's see. Our personas haven't been updated in 5 years. That might not be why we're not converting. We're the go-to tool in the market. Probably not anymore. We used to be a market leader. Yep, can't rest on that. Conversion will improve if we reduce the number of steps in the sign-up flow. Okay, so let's take a look back at decision criteria, and maybe we might call it sales process or flow. Did they get a demo? Let's see, what did that question say again? How many steps? Yeah. How many steps are in our sales flow, or how long does it tend to take? Now, some of that we might be able to talk to salespeople about. They might say, oh, yeah, on average, it takes us 2 months to convince someone to sign on with us. But let's also talk to the target customer about this because of this. How long did the target customer expect it to take? They might have said, we really expected to be able to make this decision within 3 weeks, but we got so caught up with your sales process and problems we had, and then you couldn't accept our purchase order. This took 3 months, and then we just said, forget it. You never know what'll come up in these conversations. So let's start with this. This is probably, again, it could end up too much for a study, but it's a good example. I mean, our show's half over. So we're probably not going to get through everything here. So we might do some short versions of stuff, knowing that I would be working on this plan sometimes for days until it looks great. I also tend to show these plans once I feel good about them to some of my stakeholders. I'll go back to my inner circle of the cross-functional team and the stakeholders, which might not be 50 people, maybe it's 5 or 10 people, and I'll say, take a look at this plan. Am I covering the questions you need to be more successful? And they might say, yeah, this looks great. Or, ooh, can you ask this differently? Or, hey, I forgot something. Again, another point of collaboration. You are a team player. Don't let them gaslight you. They don't have to ask the questions for you to be a team player. So there you go. So method, what are we going to do? These are probably going to be interviews, observations where possible. So we might ask people, can you show us how you shop for this type of system? So for now, I'll write where possible, but maybe we'll circle back and we'll find that this is going to be a little bit more observational, because we can ask people to share their screen and say, show us how you shop for this type of service. Go to our website, go to a competitor's website, show us. Then we can learn more about those decision criteria. Ooh, another thing I love to add to decision criteria questions is, how does a target customer decide who they trust? Ooh, I love that one. We have to find a way to ask that, but sometimes they go, yeah, I went to that company's website and I just felt like I couldn't trust them. And we say, super, can you tell me more about how you decided that? Yeah, I couldn't find a phone number. And it made me feel like if I needed help, I wouldn't get it. Ooh. I've actually had people say that to me in studies. They trusted a company that put up a phone number. They didn't trust the company that didn't put up a phone number. I once had somebody tell me they didn't trust the company because they didn't like their logo. I love that one. But hey, that's their reality, so we have to take it into consideration. And I thought it was a crappy logo, but again, just something to think about. So, do we think we need other methods here? Are we going to run a survey? For me, I usually don't run surveys outside of screener surveys. They just don't get me the information I need, because I really want, especially the why, the root causes, the how people do things. And we're not going to learn that from a study. We're unlikely to learn it from a focus group. And I don't think I would run a diary study. Those can take very long, and they suffer from people not reporting stuff very accurately. Allison says, same here. Even if they never go to contact info, they like to see that it's there. Andre says, are you putting together this doc alone, then showing the key people once you've made sure to cover it? Yes. So typically, I am either working on this document alone, or some of you who've read my book or seen my other shows know that I like researchers to work in mini sub-teams. So sometimes I'm putting 2 researchers together, 3 researchers together. In that case, we are all working on this. Any qualified researcher who's allocated to the project is working on this document. Once we feel good about the entire document, we don't show it to our stakeholders in pieces. Once I feel like the whole document is good, I typically invite them, giving them comment-only access. And that way we can open some conversations. So not going to run survey, not going to use other methods. Again, could you choose other methods? You could. These are typically my go-to methods. Observations where possible, interviews and conversations for the things that would be harder for us to see or observe or watch or witness, things like that. So deliverables. Now, I like to collaborate, would be the right word, with my larger stakeholder and cross-functional team, which again might be 50 people, to learn how do they want this stuff? When this research study is over, what do they want? Some people like long-form, wordy reports. Many people don't. They want punchy slides with key takeaways and actionable suggestions. Some people want spreadsheets of the key problems we found and the opportunities we found. And sometimes they want them with priorities, like what do we think are the highest priorities? We've delivered to clients ecosystem maps. Who's involved in this decision? We made you an ecosystem map. This person has to talk to this role, and this role decides a budget, and this role makes a final decision. Maybe somebody wants to see an ecosystem map. Would it be a customer journey map? Only if we learn the steps people tend to take in the order that they tend to take them. Then we could look at a customer journey map or a task analysis. But I'm not sure that's going to work well here if we find that people are just doing this task too many different ways. So that's a bit of an unknown. I'd love to do a task analysis. Many of you know that I am for task analysis. Everybody read Larry Marine's book, Disruptive Research. But sometimes I found that the task is just so different across people, it's hard to do an analysis or map of it. Do we need a service blueprint? Maybe. Do we want to map typical customer journeys against what's going on in our company, both seen by the customer and behind the scenes? Possible. So I'm not going to write anything in deliverables right now. Deliverables, artifacts, documents, maps, these are best worked out with your cross-functional team. Don't give them personas if they don't need personas, if they don't want them, if they don't care about them. And I don't even do personas anymore. I do behavioral typologies. Larry Marine does what he calls user profiles, which we've got shows on the old Delta CX channel. So, hey, don't forget to subscribe here on the CX-CC channel. So the deliverables could be whatever helps your team the most. Sometimes we're delivering video clip montages. People love those. They show the people telling the story in their own words. So deliverables are whatever you need to deliver to best tell the stories that answer the questions that everybody's waiting for you to answer. So that goes in deliverables. Bulleted list. Participant profiles. This is who do we want to meet, how many of these people, and sometimes why. So who do we want to meet? We want to meet current target customers already in our funnel. Let's meet some people who are in the process now. Let's learn how they found us, what made them want to do a trial with us or talk to a salesperson, what they think of our pricing. So let's find some people who have decided to include us in amongst their comparison or decision. Andre says this is more of the type of report they're getting, not the OKRs or impact metrics. I can't assign OKRs or impact metrics because this is going to be a research study. I am delivering evidence, data, and knowledge. What's the metric around that? I don't know what the metric is until I know what someone's going to do. So what do I hope the metric is? I hope the metric is conversion goes up, but by how much? I can't say, especially if I'm not the designer or decision maker on the project. If I'm just the researcher, which is not just the researcher, but if I'm only the researcher on this project, I can't say, okay, and now that you know all this, you're going to create a conversion rates are going to go up 5% in the next quarter. And well, hold on. I don't know that because I don't know what action anybody's going to take after we deliver our report. Emojis up. Who's worked at a company who delivered a research report and they did almost nothing from it? So it's too early for us to say, and this is going to be the OKRs or the metrics, especially in this case, we're going in with a metric being off. So you can try to say what metrics you think should be measured later on when this is improved or fixed, but it's a little early for you to say how much that should be. I don't know if we're going to make a 1% difference or a 5% difference. Too early, in my opinion. So I usually don't put that in my research plan, but if you're confident in it, give it a try. Andre says, this has been a challenge for me when someone wants a deliverable that exceeds what I can do in an interview. That's a conversation to have with someone. I can't deliver that because it goes beyond what I can do in an interview. If you'd like me to do that, I'm going to have to fly out to them and sit with them and watch this thing and video record that, and then I'll be able to come back to you and tell you that. So you just have to have that conversation about the limitations of some of these types of, so for example, let's say we're going to do these remotely. These will be remote via video call, and I won't name a particular tool because everyone's got their most favorites and least favorites. So let's pretend it's a Zoom or Zoom competitor, whatever it might be. I think we should meet some current customers already in our funnel. And I think we should meet some people, if possible, who rejected us. I would love to talk to people who went through some or all of our sales funnel and then said, nopers, nope, 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 reject. So let's say potential customers who went through some or all of our sales funnel and then rejected us. Wouldn't you love to hear from them and learn what happened there? Sure, we can ask sales, hey, why did we lose that sale? But just in case sales doesn't have all the story or tells us something a little funky, I want to hear it from these people. I want to see how they're selecting stuff and who's responsible and who they ended up picking and why. That's gold right there. That's win-loss stuff. So that's gold. We got to pay dearly for that, which we'll talk about in a moment. Who else? There could be a third group, and that could be a group of people who are starting to consider this type of purchase, but hasn't narrowed down which companies they're going to focus on. Because we could end up in that pile, and we might not end up in that pile, and we could be interesting to learn about their process and their decision criteria. So let's say target customers so early in the process that they don't have a short list yet. They haven't decided which companies they're going to review. We might learn a lot from people who are that early in the process. Are we likely to be weeded out early in that funnel? Any other types of people any of you think we should meet? And then we'll be asking the question, how many should we meet? And what should we pay them for their time? Because typically we do give people incentives. I'm going to be thinking in American dollars. You might be thinking in another currency. Sharon says, maybe a handful of successful conversions. What worked well? Okay, so we've got current customers in our funnel, potential customers who rejected us, target customers who are just starting the process and might next weed some companies in or out. And I like what Sharon says, recent successful conversions. It's a funny way to call them, but let's just call that for now. I might go through this plan later and rename them, but at least we know what we're talking about if we work together. Now, how many people do we want? In this type of generative qualitative research, because remember, this isn't usability testing a prototype or a site or whatever. We're not testing a thing. We're trying to do that early discovery research to discover stuff about people, decisions, relationships, and how they perceive us. So in early discovery, qualitative, generative research, the best practice tends to be 8 to 12 people per role, type, persona, whatever you're calling it. That would mean 8 to 12 people here. But I think sometimes that can be a little small if we haven't considered the rainbow of people. What about small, medium, large companies? Does our company treat companies of different sizes differently? Maybe we do and maybe we don't. What about making sure we meet people with disabilities? What about making sure we meet people of different genders? What about meeting people of different ethnicities? Do we want to meet people from different countries? As you can see, this would easily make us feel like we have to meet a zillion squillion people. We're not going to have time for that. So we might say, for this study, just to have a starting point, we would like to meet 15 from each of the above groups. We intend to recruit a good mix of ages, ethnicities, disabilities, and representation of marginalized groups. That's fair. That way we're not going to talk to 15 white guys from New York City. We're going to make sure we've mixed it up a little bit, but let's say also that just to narrow it down for a starting point, maybe we pick a country or a region where we find most of our sales tend to come from, or it's the country or region in which our company is trying to focus on the most market share. So we might say, for example, this study will focus on target customers in the UK. It could be anywhere. Maybe you're focused on a certain area. It could be Europe, but Europe's very big. So maybe pick a country or an area. So we're going to focus on target customers in the USA. Maybe you know that certain verticals, maybe your company's trying to focus on certain verticals. We are a great project management system for aviation companies, for factory floors, for creative agencies, whatever it might be. So this is where you want to make sure that you're familiar with your company's sweet spots and value propositions and personas, typologies, profiles, so that you can say, we're going to focus on target customers in the USA, and maybe we're focused on creative agencies and consultancies because sales says that's our sweet spot. Sales says that's who this system was designed for. Let's just pretend. Let's pretend that's who our company is aiming project management systems at. This study will focus on creative agencies and consultancies of 100 people or more, headquartered in the USA. Again, I'm just making this up. It could be anything, but I'm trying to make sure that our study isn't so broad that we're going to feel like we need a gazillion squillion people. That means we need 60 people because it's 15 times 4. This is 60 people. Y'all. Okay, that's a little bit informal, but sometimes 60 people is totally cool because your company says, we're really upset with conversions. We want to get to the bottom of this. We don't care if it takes you a couple of months to figure this out. Just freaking figure it out because we're bleeding money. Or sometimes the company says, we need to go fast. What can you tell us in 3 weeks? And then you go, oh, I don't think we're going to be able to meet 60 people in 3 weeks. Maybe you can negotiate that. Maybe you say, okay, I'm going to take out this group. I'm going to take out the target customers early in the process. Boop, bop, a beep. How do I cross something out? Is there a cross out thing here? No. There's no strike through in googly thingy? I guess not. I don't see it. All right, well, let's put it in a different color. And we'll just say, this is where comments, there is, Sharon says, I want to believe you. Or I could just comment it and say, remove this group to reduce scope and time of study. Shift Command X. Oh my gosh. How would I have known that? Is that like a secret format thing? Here, oh, yep, strike through. Alt-Shift-5. Maybe Sharon's on a Mac. I am on Windows. Alt-Shift-5, y'all. Anyway, in this case, I'll just comment it. Because what might happen is I might end up in a collaborative session with our stakeholders, and they go, no, 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 we really want to hear from those people. And you go, okay, then I need more time. No, Sharon, it's totally fine. You knew something I didn't, and I found it, so that works. Don't necessarily delete stuff. You can always cross it out or write a comment. And that way, if your collaborators see it later and they go, oh man, no, we really want to hear from those people, damn it. And you go, cool, I'm happy to talk to them, but it's going to add 2 weeks of sessions and analysis and reporting to this. Oh, okay, you know what? Cut it. Or, wow, yeah, it'll only add 2 weeks. Add those people in. These are conversations. Would you reduce the number of participants per segment, say only 3 to 5 if they need fast results? The downside to 3 to 5 is who you're going to get. I'm always worried about people getting 3 white men because that is such a small thing. So what would I do if I wanted to cut it down? I might go from 15 to 8. Reduce to 8 if pressed for time or budget. So then I might say 8 times 4, 32. 8 times 3, 24. That's not as many people. And let's say I've got a co-researcher. Let's say Andre and I are working on this one together. Then Andre can meet, let's say we've got 32. Andre meets 16, I meet 16. That's something we should be able to do within a week and possibly shorter depending upon how long these sessions will be and how much energy we've got. Andre says we're going to have a part 3 discussing how to do synthesis and analysis for a large amount. Oh, I do that all the time. Kayleen and I are going to do note-taking later this month. So make sure you go to cxcc.to/events and watch our note-taking session. But we don't have analysis and synthesis planned. We do have note-taking planned. So remember, this is going to be one of the key areas where you are going to have to discuss and negotiate with your stakeholders because you know that it would be great to have more people, especially where we want to get a good rainbow of people and more diversity in people. We can't claim to have empathy with people we haven't met and talked to and gotten to know. So empathy, everybody. So I would say this is usually where a lot of those negotiations happen, where someone goes, we don't want this to take that long. Can you make this shorter? Well, we can make this shorter, but then I'm not going to talk to customers who haven't shortlisted you yet. Okay, we can do without them. Okay. That's fine. Recruiting plan is where we're going to find these people. In the case of what we're talking about right now, Some of these people would be coming from internal stuff. Hey, sales, can you give me some recent successful conversions? Give me 20, and I'll schedule 8 of them. I'll invite 12 of them, I'll meet 8 of them. Hey, sales, can you give me some potential customers who went through our sales funnel and then rejected us? Hey, sales. So in this case, we might have it easy where we can just get sales to give us these people, but sometimes we need a more in-depth recruiting plan where we need to go out into the outside world, especially for our startup example that we also did. We are going to need to go out into the outside world and find people who fit this profile. We might need to go to panel services, agencies, social media, advertising. There are lots of ways to do this. Again, if you're a qualified researcher, you're familiar with that, but here you would put your plan. Also, as part of either the plan or the profiles, I like to mention what we're going to pay people, because this information is gold, and we're probably going to be talking to people who might have some high titles. They might be managers somewhere. They might be procurement specialists. They are not going to want $20 or a free coffee. I'm always amazed when people want business-changing amazing decision information from a participant and they want to pick their brain for free or give them a coffee. Emojis up. Who else thinks that's unreasonable? So let's say that our company really wants to make sure we get good information and that we are really using a little bit of money to motivate people to come talk to us. I'm going to go big on this one, especially because we were going to talk to some people who rejected us. And that's always tough. Yep, 1,000%. So let's go big on this. Let's see. How about 200 American dollars per hour as a research incentive paid via tremendous #not sponsored. So there are many ways to pay participants in studies. I've been using Tremendous. I've been relatively happy with them. That is not sponsored. I pay them. They don't pay me. You are welcome to pick any other way to pay people. You can bank transfer them. You can PayPal them. Also not sponsored. I don't care how you get them money as long as you get them money in a way that doesn't lose them a fee. Sometimes you PayPal someone, they lose a fee. Don't do that. Quick note. Tremendous, depending upon how you have Tremendous set up, they sometimes charge a 4% fee, which means budget additional 4% for Tremendous fees. So if hypothetically we decided to meet 24 people equals, that's 4,800 plus an additional 4%, which is going to be roughly $200. Let's get the calculator up just to make sure. So we've got 4,800 in our incentives, 24 people getting 200 each, times 1.04. Okay, so about 5,000. And I would probably ask for a little bit more of a budget in case we have, we might schedule 10 people, and if 2 people don't show up, we still have 8, but sometimes all 10 show up. So let's budget a little bit more just in case. Let's budget 6,000 just in case we get a few extra people plus fees. Sharon says, I love them too. #not sponsored. Okay, so Tremendous is not your only choice, but they're a good choice. So that's part of the budget. So it's not just what does the outside agency or consultancy cost to do this research work for us, or what do we pay our internal full-timers or contractors for this? This is in the budget as well. If you use other tools, get these in here. Does it cost you? So also include cost of outside panel services, agencies. Who can think of other things that cost us money here? Any tools or systems? A lot of times we're paying for licenses anyway, and they don't exactly go with one study. We're using them for the year. So, but Tremendous will charge us for every person we pay, so that money has to be considered here. So again, any other costs or systems that we're going to specially need for this project. That leaves a screener survey and a discussion guide. And in that case, we've only got 5 minutes left. I'm not going to be able to write those, but I do have a video on Delta CX, the Delta CX YouTube channel on screener surveys. So you can find that by searching, go to YouTube, search Delta CX screener survey. Andre's asking, do you always overschedule? Yes. Let me see. Where do I have... where did I put it? These are all my bookmarks. Here it is. Proposal and estimate factors. This was a YouTube show we did, and I'm not remembering which one it was, so I'll need a moment. But this was a spreadsheet that I made that I shared with everybody in that show. And the idea was you could estimate some of the time you were going to need. It was probably in my planning show. If you go to Delta CX and search for Delta CX on YouTube. So go to YouTube, write Delta CX planning. It says micro lesson planning. This is some of how I do that. Down here, this is how many people do we want to invite and how many do we want to schedule. So if we are hoping to meet 24 people, I want to have 101 that I can invite because so many people will be like, what? I hate your company. I don't want to do this. We're going to need a lot of people to invite to schedule 29 or more to meet 24 on the assumption that some don't show up. If they do show up, great, we met 29. But you don't want to have so many no-shows that you aim for 24 and you meet 15. That's not going to feel good. So yes, I do usually overschedule, especially if I think I have a bit of an audience that's likely to last minute go, I can't make it. I'm too busy today. Oh my God, no shows. So yeah, check out the planning one. So screener survey, separate thing. Discussion guide. This is very stylistically dependent, and I can't say there's one right way to make a discussion guide. And I don't remember if we do have some videos, I think, on this, but I imagine this all came from experience. Yeah, I've done this a few times. I love when people on Reddit go, Debbie Levitt, she's never worked in UX. And I go, right, sure. Tell me more about that. So basically what I'll do for the discussion guide is, first of all, I'll start with my standard script with my beginning and my end. Hi, I'm Debbie from Delta CX. I'm a researcher on a project where we're looking at how companies make decisions around project management software. Thanks so much for being a part of our project today and for already signing our consent form. Remember, I'm sending out consent forms. Don't skip that step. Today will take no more than an hour. We are recording. I always record first. If you ask them if it's okay to record and you didn't record them saying yes, you cannot prove that they said yes, so I'm recording. So next I paste in my typical opener and my closer, thank you so much. You'll be paid by Tremendous in the next few days. If you have any problems, please contact me directly, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm going to go back to my goals and I'm going to start writing questions or tasks that will help us get the answers to this. Now, I can't teach you this, certainly not in 2 minutes, and not in a short amount of time, because this is what makes qualified researchers get their jobs. Qualified service designers get their jobs, because this is very hard to do. It's very hard to write great questions that aren't biased, leading, funky. Cat's urinary tract. Who's been around Delta CX long enough to remember cat's urinary tract questions? That was a term that I've been using for years. We don't have enough time, obviously. We got to wind down. But then I would write the discussion guide, go over that if I have a co-researcher, work on this for a day or two, make sure I've made it a little bit better, streamlined, and then share it comment only with my inner circle of cross-functional teammates and stakeholders to make sure that they believe that these questions and these tasks in the discussion guide part of our document, that we are going to get at what they need us to get at, which was expressed on the board, but now that they see the tasks and the questions, they might go, oh, that's not really what I meant, or we're missing something here. Now, again, even there, I don't necessarily do everything that they say. I don't necessarily rewrite questions the way they say or add questions that they say. But their comments will at least open up conversations. Sometimes those can be answered in comment replies, and sometimes we really need to have a meeting to talk more about this. But eventually, I ask them to approve this. And that way, if we missed a question later, they don't go, Debbie, you missed a question. It would be, we all missed the question because you approved this. Oops, we all missed it. So that is the 1 hour. So, very short, but the 1 hour version. The goal here today was just to talk about how I go from the Knowledge Quadrant board to starting to plan the research. Obviously, we didn't finish planning the research, and I would spend days on this, but this is the direction in which I would go. If we have to narrow it down by including fewer people, we have that negotiation, we have that conversation. If we have to narrow it down by covering fewer topics, we have that negotiation and we have that conversation with our cross-functional team. All right, so back to a giant picture of me. Ta-da. Thank you, Andre. Thanks for coming. Andre says, thanks for walking through all of this. It's helpful to see how experts go about creating and running projects. Yeah, thank you. And thanks for saying I'm an expert. So yeah, this again, and this is where I would start. I'm not done. This is an ongoing process, and it is not a short one. And that's why when sometimes people say to me, hey, the product manager is going to do some interviews, I say, well, okay, show me your plan. And they go, plan? And I go, come on, y'all. So I think that we have to make, this is where some of the rigor of good work is reflected. If we don't have that plan, let's put up the research process on the screen before we leave for today. So today we talked about planning goals and strategy. We didn't totally write the protocol or script or guide, but we certainly started it, and at least we know what our goals for the research are, and they will be reflected in the script and the guide. We didn't do the recruiting, but we have a plan for the recruiting, and we didn't do the rest of it. We didn't execute the sessions, we didn't analyze them, etc. Shelly Y. Oh, hey, Shelly says, do you have a video about road mapping research studies from the... This is that. This is that video. Shelly, did you just get here? So basically, if you're talking about designing the research study that would answer the questions from the quadrant, that was today's video. Go back and start it at the beginning or wait for it to be live in 2 weeks because paid Patreon members get it first. If you're talking about project planning, time estimation, division of work, that is a separate video. You can find that if you go to YouTube and it seemed like it was only for a singular project. This is a singular project. So I don't have a video on how would I run a department that is planning multiple projects or things like that. I don't think I have a video on that, but I do have the micro lesson on planning, which you can find on the Delta CX channel. So just go to YouTube and search for Delta CX planning micro lesson, and I'll talk about how I estimate time and map out a project and Gantt chart it and that kind of road mapping. I hope that helps. Oh, Dana is back. Good to see you here. You said you were coming and you did. Any other questions? I know we're running late. I got to go to sleep. It's after midnight. Any other questions before we go? Thank you, Shelley. Okay, while we wait to see if there's any other questions, just a reminder, you can see all the upcoming events. cxcc.to/events. I am planning events through July already. So even though I tend to lighten up a little on the summer because people are busy having fun, we'll still have a couple of live shows here every week. So make sure you've subscribed to CX-CC on YouTube. That's customer experience, customer centricity, and ring that bell so you know when I'm live. Also, if you're a member of our online communities, which you can join at deltacx.com/links, we have a bot that posts to a live events channel every time we've got a new event planned or one coming up. And we've got an education and media channel that will tell you every time I've got a new article out. So bypass the algorithms and join our Slack and or our Discords. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. And let me take a quick look at my calendar as to when I will see all of you again. Tomorrow is our new support group call. If you have joined the super secret for now support group, we'll hope to see you in our call. That's in Discord. Super secret support group is at cxcc.to/support-group. And then Friday, if you are part of our super secret leadership group, we've got a call then. So it sounds like I will see everybody on Monday when I'm doing an oldie but goodie as a webinar. AI users are neither AI nor users. Let's talk about some tough stuff. Hey, thanks, Teddy. Thanks for coming back. And yeah, see everybody soon and hope to see you around the Delta CX communities. Thanks. Bye.